Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Exodus. This is episode 5, and we're still on movies and TV shows this week. Um, I know that it's kind of going away from what I originally did, but right now, I'm kind of running low on time for some of this stuff, and I really want to, whenever I do my Bible ones, I really want to be able to put my best foot forward. And so, on the weeks where it'll be difficult to do that, I want to do this because this is easier, and this is something that I uh, kind of passionate about as well. So, this episode, I'm going to talk about some television shows because last time I just talked about movies. And I'm also going to talk about some like hot takes I have that I guess would be kind of unpopular and some anticipated stuff that's coming up. So, first, like last episode, I talked about my um, top four movies, and this time I want to bring up my top four TV shows. I'd say I've seen a lot less TV shows for sure, but honestly, I probably like TV shows about as much, if not a little bit more, than movies. Because if you can find a really good TV show that can get you hooked, I think that's almost a more enjoyable experience than a movie because you just have so much more content. So I really enjoy TV shows when I can find a good one. So I'll start from the bottom actually. So number four, I gotta go with Regular Show. I love Regular Show. I think it's so funny. I think it's so clever too. I've always been a sucker for cartoons. I love cartoons, and I still go back and watch Regular Show all the time because to me, some cartoons I used to watch, I'll go back now and it's like, oh, that's not as funny as I remember it because it's made for kids. The Regular Show to me is still funny. It holds up after all this time, and I'm not sure if it's this year or next year, but supposedly J.G. Quintel, who made Regular Show, is actually kind of rebooting it for maybe just one season, but on Adult Swim, and I think that'll be very interesting. I'm very excited for that. My number three is King of the Hill, another great animated show. Um, that one is I think that's the first Adult Swim show I ever watched, and it's definitely my favorite. Because like I say, and I'll say this every episode, but I'm a Christian, so I don't love when shows get super inappropriate. But I feel like King of the Hill teetered good on some adult humor, but not ever going too far. And so I really liked it. I really like King of the Hill. They did a reboot here recently. I wasn't as big on that, but it wasn't bad either. And so King of the Hill, I think, is probably just consistently more funny than Regular Show. And King of the Hill, uh, where I live over kind of near Bono, and some of the people like my dad works with, stuff like that. The people in King of the Hill are there's they're kind of supposed to be stereotypes, and they fit real life very well of a lot of people I know. So it's kind of funny to watch in that way. My number two is Breaking Bad. For a long time, this was my number one. Um, I love Breaking Bad. The only complaint I have with Breaking Bad is I don't really think it's that rewatchable, honestly. On first viewing, Breaking Bad was probably the best piece of media I had ever consumed up to that point. I thought it was so good. The reason I thought it was so good, honestly, is because it's taking people that normally, we should, we probably, if we saw them in real life, we'd probably think, "Ooh, I don't want to be around that person." Like Jesse Pinkman, he's a drug addict and he's not the greatest member of society, but in the show, man, you just love him so much, and it's like, man, like, let him get away with a little bit of it, right? So I think that's the sign of a great show if you can really sympathize with characters who may not be all that morally upstanding, and even the bad guys in the show, like Tuco and Gus. Um, Even if you dislike them, you're kind of like, it's kind of interesting to see them on screen. Like you're always like, what's going to happen? So I don't know. I thought Breaking Bad is a excellent show. It ended well. There's very few episodes of that show that I think are like below like a 8 out of 10. And up until recently, because there was some drama, I believe, but on IMDb, it's one of the only shows that has a 10 out of 10 episode. Ozymandias, and it's like the second to last episode, and that is a really good episode. And then my number one is Better Call Saul. So I love Better Call Saul, but the first time I watched it, I thought this is just okay. It's just like, you know, I'm glad that the Breaking Bad story kind of continued, but the show's just okay. But then I rewatched it. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is really good. And then I rewatched it again. I was like, this is perfect. Like this show's like amazing. So it's interesting. It's different than Breaking Bad in that way, where it's like it got better each time I rewatched it, and so I love it. Saul Goodman is, or in the show Jimmy McGill, that is probably that is my favorite TV show character of all time, I'd say. But it's definitely in my top like 3 fictional characters because I think he's so intriguing. I loved him in Breaking Bad. He was probably my favorite character in Breaking Bad, because he's just so charismatic and he is such a jerk sometimes. But it's like, man, you love this jerk, right? And once again, that's a sign of a good show if you're like loving and wanting the bad person to kind of prosper. And so I don't know. Better Call Saul to me is a better version of Breaking Bad, and but it's not like a huge gap, right? And so I really like Better Call Saul. Sometimes you'll see a complaint of saying the first couple of seasons are slow, and I know what they're talking about. I don't really agree. If you ever go and see Better Call Saul and you've already seen Breaking Bad, you can't go in thinking this is going to be just like Breaking Bad. The only similarity really is like the characters and the person who directed it. But, Breaking Bad's like much more of a, not an action, but a lot more high stakes feeling. And Better Call Saul feels a lot more grounded, but I think it works really well. And as it goes on and gets more high stakes, it feels so much heavier. So those are my top 4. But yeah. So now I want to go on. Oh, I wanted to bring up an honorable mention for this. Dexter. I really like Dexter. It's a really dirty show. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but when I saw it, I did really like it. And I'll bring this up later. But yeah, I really like Dexter. Dexter himself, I think, is a really interesting character. It's once again a example of a character who we probably honestly should look at and be like, ooh, I don't like this guy. But you kind of watch him and you're like, like that's not great, but it's Dexter. So once again, I think a pretty good example of a show that makes some unlikable characters kind of likable. So next I kind of want to go on to this sort of hot take type thing. I wanted to bring up a couple of stuff that people don't like that I do. And I'm sure there's others. I couldn't think of a ton, but the first one want to bring up, I know, Joker 2. People hate Joker 2, and I really liked it when I saw it. It's obviously not as good as the first Joker. The first Joker is like amazing, honestly, but the second Joker, if you don't know, Joker 1 is like this uber depressing movie about this guy who like nothing goes right for him, and so he kind of gets revenge towards the end. And it's really sad. It's like sad the whole movie, but it's a really good movie, honestly. It's done well. Joker 2, however, is still kind of has part of that depressing feel, but it's like a musical for some reason. I don't know why. I don't really know why they chose that route. And it has Harley Quinn in it. Harley Quinn's in this movie, and she's singing too. And when I went and saw this with a couple of my friends, we had all read like, at that point, I think he was at like a 3.8 or 4.1 on IMDb. So super low. But I went in, I loved it. I thought it was great. I am a sucker for some of that old music, some of that old jazz music. So that kind of reeled me in. But I honestly liked it. And I understand why people didn't. But I do not think it deserves the hate it got. So yeah, that's one I like. This one isn't as divisive, but The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Force Awakens. When that came out, I was like, this is amazing. And I was a lot younger, and at the time I was like, this is my favorite Star Wars movie. Now it's not, but at the time I loved it. And still, I rewatch parts of it, and I was like, this is great. Now, obviously, the sequel trilogy isn't great, but The Force Awakens, I think, is really good. And I think The Force Awakens gets a little too much hate based off of the other two that came after it. And so then, like, group them all together and say they're all bad. Well, I think The Force Awakens is actually pretty good. And the last thing I want to bring up, once again, is Dexter season 5 through 8. A lot of people online you'll see will separate it. So, say season 1 through 4 is like perfect, and season 5 through 8 is awful. Season 1 through 4 of Dexter is really, really good. But I think there's a couple in this Dexter season 5 through 8 that is good. I like season 5. I didn't mind season 6. It was not great. I thought it got a little sacrilegious, which I don't love when shows do that. But like season 8, I didn't mind at all, except for the ending. So I think it gets a little too much hate just because it's not up to the quality of the other 4 seasons. It's definitely a dip. I think writers changed actually after season 4, so that's probably the reason. But I still enjoy it, right? I don't think it's a show that if you do watch, which once again I think it's a pretty rough show. I don't think I'd watch it again today, but if you were to watch it, I don't agree that you just need to quit after season 4 because I still think it has some good in it. And some of the shows that come after it, Original Sin and Resurrection, I think both of those are pretty good adaptations. So now I want to go on. There's a lot more of these. Some movies that other people like that I don't. I don't feel like I'm very picky, honestly. If I see a movie and I like it, usually when I leave that theater or my room or whatever, I come out with saying, man, that's like a 10 out of 10. So I have bad recency bias, but if I like a movie, I really like it. So I want to just bring up a few. Starting off pretty easy, The Last Jedi. That's kind of a divisive movie, more divisive than any of the other Star Wars movies because it's like half the people love it, half the people hate it. I'm one of the half that hates it. It's probably my least favorite movie I've ever seen. Um, I just think it's so dumb. And yeah, like I don't have much good to say about it. I mean, it looks stunning, but for a Star Wars movie, like all of them look stunning for when they come out. So, I don't hold that as like a high praise, but I just really dislike it. And maybe I'd like it more now rewatching it. Maybe, but I highly doubt it. Um then I want to go on to Split. Split's like a horror movie. I watched this with a few of my friends, and they told me like this movie's great. You're gonna love this, and I thought it was truly so stupid. It was so dumb. And I looked up reviews afterwards, and a lot of people like it. Split is basically this like lunatic who has multi personality disorder, and he has like 30 different personalities, which is kind of an interesting concept. And he like traps these girls in his basement, and it's like some of the personalities seem to be like sympathetic, be like, you guys can go, but some of the personalities are like, no, you stay. And that's not really an issue. It's that the characters, which is a problem with horror sometimes, are act so ignorant that it's like, this is ridiculous. They have so many chances to escape and they just don't take it. Um, and I know with horror, sometimes you kind of gotta just disconnect that. But in that movie, I thought it was too much. It was just it was so bad, and the acting wasn't great too. So overall, I thought that movie was pretty bad. Um, this next one, maybe not as much today, but it is in like the I think it's in the top 100 on IMDb. People love this movie. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey. This movie is so boring. If you ask anyone, I guarantee you if you ask anyone, why do you like 2001: A Space Odyssey? They're gonna say it's such a technology like advancement for its time. Like, okay, that's great. I'm glad they did that. It looks amazing, honestly. That's a praise I'll give it. It looks really good for being a movie in the 60s, but it's boring. I think the movie, honestly, it feels like, look how great this looks. and then the story came second. And, visuals are important to a story, but a story is more important than visuals. And so I think it's a snooze fest. I do not like it. But people love it. And I don't really see the appeal. The next one, this was a huge letdown for me. Superman 2025. I kind of briefly said this last episode, but Superman 2025. I'm really trying to think, but I can't remember. I cannot remember a movie in my life that I've been more excited for than Superman 2025. Once that first trailer dropped, I watched that like 20 times, and I just thought it was so cool. I thought, this is great. It's colorful. I told you last episode, I love color. I love, love, love colorful movies. And so it was just so bright. It looked so nice. Seeing a Green Lantern in action, seeing that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I love that. And I don't know who this Guy Gardner is, but, looks awesome. And so I was so excited. I thought, Lex Luthor looked great. I thought David Corenswet as Superman looked amazing. So I was so excited. And, personally, I didn't love Henry Cavill. I thought he was too Batman-like for Superman. So seeing this Superman like kind of be jokey and smiling, it was like, oh my gosh, what a novel idea. Because Superman is a more cheerful person than Batman. So I was so excited. And I went and saw it opening night, and I left, and I said, it was okay. I didn't love it. I really tried it. And so I went and watched it a second time. I was thinking, maybe I'm just missing something. I liked it less. Probably now I would give it a 6 out of 10. Which isn't like a bad movie. Like, that's like a slightly above average superhero movie. But I just thought it was like all over the place. There's no Clark Kent. That was a huge complaint of mine, because Clark Kent is such a important part of Superman's story, that secret identity. And I went and I counted. There's one scene with Clark Kent. There's one scene in the whole movie. And like, the movie focuses so much on the Justice Gang, which is Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl. And they're my favorite parts of the movie. Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner are the best parts of that movie. I love watching them on screen. But honestly, they should not have near as much screen time as they do, because it's a Superman movie, not a Justice Gang movie. So I had a lot of complaints with it. I was really disappointed. If I had gone in just thinking, okay, it's a superhero movie, I probably would have liked it better. But I had my hopes so high, and all the reviewers were saying, DC is back. Man, I was so disappointed in that movie. That really upset me. I was so down afterwards. I was like, man, I thought that was going to be really good. But, and I'm hoping the sequel will be better, because the sequels is it's just going to be like Lex and Superman, I think, working together, and Brainiac's in it, and Brainiac's a really cool villain. So hopefully that can be good, because I think David Cornsweet's Superman is pretty interesting. So hopefully, I'll like the second one better. These next few are ones that I think are kind of more critically acclaimed that I don't love. So The Good, the Bad, the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. I love Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's one of my favorite actors. I love his movies. This movie I thought was really boring. It's like 3 hours. And when I'm watching a Clint Eastwood movie, who I want to see on screen, Clint Eastwood. That's the best part of every movie. He's a great actor. Even in movies that I think are bad, like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, he's the best part. To me, he doesn't really give ever a bad performance. So when he was on screen, and there's some parts of this movie I like. I think the ending, like, duel scene is really cool, but I don't know. I just thought it was kind of overrated, because on IMDb, I think it's like number 8 of all time, the 8th best movie of all time, and I just heavily disagree. Another is Grease. I like some musicals. I don't like some. Like I said last episode, La La Land's like top 3, but Grease, I'd heard the music before. I like it a lot. So I was like, I'll watch the movie. I just thought it was really kind of boring. And then at the end, I'm not sure if you've seen it, spoiler alert for Grease, the car flies away. The two main characters get in a car and it flies away. But there's no indication that at any point in this movie there's anything like supernatural happening. So I don't know why the car flew away. But it's not like portrayed as like a dream sequence. It's just like it takes off. So I don't know. I didn't love the movie. Music's great, so it kind of bumps the score up, but I didn't love the movie. Dunkirk. This movie is the worst. Um, I said last episode that on average, to me, war movies are probably the most consistently good. I love war movies because I think it's interesting when they go the route of, you know, good guys versus bad guys. I love that kind of story, but I also love the kind of story where it's like, what are we doing here? Or the psychological type of warfare, or the are we the bad guys? Like I think all those stories are interesting. So I think war to me is pretty interesting. Dunkirk is so bad. Christopher Nolan, I think he does that shaky cam thing that I don't really enjoy. I know some people like it, but I don't. To me, that's another movie that's kind of like, this looks great, and then story comes second. So that's why I didn't like Dunkirk. And last movie is Aliens. Aliens is not a bad movie. I want to say that. And when I say Aliens, I mean first Alien in the 70s, and then this is the one that came right after it. First Alien is great. I think First Alien is a pretty scary movie to me. I think it does a good job with horror. Aliens, I think, is a lot more, I don't know, it's almost kind of more action-y, and which is fine if you want an action movie, but I want a horror movie. And that was the complaint I also had with Alien Romulus, which came out last year, the year before. I didn't love it because I expected a horror movie and instead got an action movie with some horror elements. So, all that to say that I didn't love those. But now I want to go over to some underrated movies. Let's get some positivity in here. Okay, I got a few old ones. So, 12 Angry Men. It's one of the highest rated movies of all time. But I'm just kind of saying this for today. I don't hear anyone my age really talk about it that much. When I first heard about this movie, I kind of thought it was one of those things that like Film Bros recommended. Like, if you ever go on Letterboxd is is a different thing. But you'll go on there and people say, this is my favorite movie of all time. And it's some movie from the 30s that doesn't have sound. And like, it's just like, I don't know, a still shot of like a clown crying. And they say it's so beautiful. I thought that's what this movie was going to be. I thought it was some artsy thing that was like, had some weird deeper meaning that I wasn't going to understand. But it's actually a very good movie. It's my second favorite movie of all time. I think it's done great. Acting's great. It all takes place in one room. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. And it's not that long. I think it's like an hour and a half. It's definitely worth a watch. It's one of those ones that, like, when you hear like Film Bros say this is worth a watch, this is one of the ones that's actually like good. Another is Psycho. Once again, highly rated movie, just not as much today. I think Psycho is one that does a very good job with horror in the unsettling, like uncanny valley. I think it does a great job at that. And Alfred Hitchcock does have some good. I think he does horror pretty well. And there's stuff in it that's kind of like, if you've ever seen when the lady gets killed in the shower, it looks a little hokey, honestly, but if you can kind of look past some of the dated stuff, I still think it's a pretty well done movie. A Face in the Crowd. A Face in the Crowd is, interestingly enough, I watched a video on it when I was much younger, and just like a year ago I decided to watch it. But it's Andy Griffith. That name sounds familiar. The Andy Griffith Show was back in the 60s, but 5 years before he was in that, I think this was 1958, he was in a movie called A Face in the Crowd, and he's totally different. It's kind of about a music star who, essentially at the beginning, he's in jail, but he's playing guitar, and he does it for the radio, and he gets so popular, he gains this huge audience. It's basically this guy who already wasn't a great guy letting all this fame go to his head. And so I think it's a pretty good movie. Once again, with a lot of these 60 movies, besides 12 Angry Men, I think 12 Angry Men's perfect. But with a lot of these 60 movies, you're going to see some stuff that's kind of like, oh, that's kind of hokey, But I still think, it's an enjoyable thing. Okay, these, I love these movies. These aren't for everyone. I'll say that right now. I like horror, but these aren't for everyone. Creep 1 and 2. Creep. So first one's great. Second one's probably a little better. And then there's Creep Tapes, which is a show, and there's a couple of those episodes that are pretty good. And Creep 1, you can't find it like definitively, but it's estimated that it has a $500 budget. So just know you're working with a pretty small thing. It's basically this guy goes to this cabin in the woods, and he's hired to film this guy, and he says, I'm dying, but I want to leave some video for my kid. So I want you to kind of film my day. And it's just kind of a really unsettling movie. It's kind of funny because it's so like uncomfortable. But I think it does a good job at horror too. Just that unsettling. Now I'm gonna get next. High Plains Drifter and The Outlaw Josie Wells. Love those movies. Those are Clint Eastwood. High Plains Drifter is probably my favorite of Clint Eastwood. Just really good High Plains Drifter is a western. The Outlaw Josie Wells takes place during the Civil War, and I think that's another good one. But yeah, both of them are good. They're kind of rough, but I think that story-wise are really good. And last of all, once again, not a super underrated movie, but just one I think deserves its flowers, is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This is probably number 5 for me, 5th favorite movie of all time. Love this movie. I think this movie looks it looks so good. It's probably one of my favorite aesthetically pleasing movies. And it's another movie where like a lot of the characters are kind of the worst, and yet you still like the movie. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. I think it's great. And then last thing I kind of want to talk about is some of my anticipated movies. Last episode I talked about some coming out this upcoming year, but I want to bring up some that are either not confirmed or are in the future. The Batman 2. I just recently, this summer, watched The Batman Part 1, and I thought it was amazing. I couldn't believe, like, I waited this long to watch this movie. This is great. It's my favorite representation we've gotten of Batman, I'll say that. Robert Pattinson, love it. I know it's different because it's kind of like, he's not this, he's not fully Bruce Wayne, it feels like, if you know what I mean. He's Batman, but he's not fully Bruce Wayne. And I'm hoping the Batman 2 will kind of have him be more Bruce Wayne. Beyond the Spider-Verse. Okay, Into the Spider-Verse is great. It's like an 8 out of 10. I think some people like it a little bit more than me, but I still think it's a really good movie. Great animated movie. Then Across the Spider-Verse is like a 10 out of 10. It blew me away how good that movie was. And it took a Spider-Man villain, the Spot, which was like unknown, and made him an amazing villain. So, all that to say that I'm really excited for this movie. I think if this movie can land, can like hit the landing, then to me at least, and I think to a lot of people, this will probably be the definitive best superhero trilogy. Because I'm really hoping it can, though. Looks great. There's nothing bad I can really say about Into the Spider-Verse. It's great. And it makes you, in 2 movies, it makes Miles Morales, who, before those movies, there had been comics, but they weren't like super, super popular. Now, Miles is, as popular as Peter Parker. So I love it. The more Spider-Man I can get, I love, because Spider-Man's great. This one's interesting. The Resurrection of the Christ. Last episode I brought up The Passion of the Christ, which is a rough movie, like one of my favorite movies that I'll never watch again. Resurrection of the Christ is the like 500 people he appeared to after his resurrection and rising. So I think that'll be interesting. I don't know how they'll do it. That's one of the only movies I've ever watched that has subtitles. I can't do subtitles. I read too slow. But it feels very authentic, and I'm glad they do it with those movies. So I'm excited for that. And these last 2 are James Wan productions. So James Wan, he made, some of you may know, The Conjuring. I think he made The Nun, Insidious, and there's another one. He made Aquaman for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, James Wan is a horror director. Insidious, I really like Insidious. But he has this passion project, and I'm not sure, it's not confirmed, but he wants to work on the Call of Cthulhu, which is a movie about Cthulhu. I think that would be amazing. Cthulhu is a H.P. Lovecraft monster, and like I kind of said last episode, that's one of my favorite tropes in horror. Is kind of I think dread is something really that can be done well in horror. And Cthulhu's not like it's not a monster that you can like kill. Like it's bigger than life. Like you're not going to be able to take it out. It's kind of focused. It's like it's used as a device to drive the plot forward with saying like, what are we going to do? It's basically that. And so I think that would be amazing. I'd love to see that. I really hope they'll allow him to do that. And he seems very passionate about it, so I trust it in his hands. And then the back rooms. Apparently this year, I'm so excited for the back rooms. Back rooms, I think it's an interesting idea, very interesting. There's a lot of conversation online if they want monsters or just more of a like people walking around and maybe just their psychology is just going nuts. I don't know. I kind of trust him though. He's producing this movie, but I'm really excited for it. I think this will be a great horror movie. Um, but yeah, that's been the Exodus episode 5, and I'll see you guys next week.